Yeah, yeah. It is for freedom and joy.
You see, I grew up in America. I grew up in the land where phrases like, I have a dream, meant something. I grew up where I believed that freedom existed, that that's what I was fighting for, that our founding fathers made America the land of the free and the land of the brave. This is America, damn it, and I'm taking it back.
And now your host, Terry Joyce.
Yeah, welcome to the Freedom of Joy show on Revolution Radio. Thank you for tuning in today. I have a guest that probably everybody here knows that I'm going to bring on here in a moment. He has a show here on Revolution Radio, Stephen D. Kelly show on Thursday nights. And, I know that probably a lot of the listeners out there might already know his story and about the book that he wrote, which is in a revised edition called Cities Under the Plain. But I wanted to go into a little bit more detail today about his story. And if you've seen any of his videos or somewhat, heard him speak about it, I really suggest that you get the book, because in reading the book you will really see it's like you see it through his eyes and his own personal journey, and also his own awareness of his own process, his own evolution, which I really would like to get more into actually when I bring him on, and I'm going to bring him on in just a moment. Before we start though, I also want to say that Revolution Radio, we are listener supported, and it's we're grateful for it because it allows us to be able to have the freedom of speech and to give all this great information to you that most people don't get to hear, because we're not controlled by an advertiser. And so we do really thank you for your support that you give us. Right now we are at $550 for the month, and we have 21 days left. So we do still have some time, but please do make a donation and keep us going here. And I'd like to thank you already because I know you've already donated. So thank you very much. And there's a few things that I'd like to share at the top of the hour before I bring our guest on, Stephen. One of the things is I live at a place where there's a brick room that we all kind of hang out in, and we smoke weed in the room and talk, and one of my roommates, he's not really my roommate, he lives on the same property as me, but he's another comedian friend of mine. He plays the character Sergeant Detective Harry Palmer Jr. that I had as a guest one time, and he wasn't a real person, it was kind of anyway. So we're sitting there and we're smoking, and the World Cup is happening, and and Ron is like a big sports guy. I've seen more sports because I go and hang out, and that's what's on the TV, and there'll be football and basketball, and he'll educate me on how the game's played, and what happens psychologically behind it, and all that kind of stuff. And I started to think about what this was all about, like what competition was, how there's like one team against another team, and they go against each other, and we all get into it, and we drink our beers, and we paint our faces, and we're like, and I thought like, what kind of consciousness is this? What is it that the politics, red, blue, Republicans, Democrats, up against each other, two different philosophies, who's gonna win? Boxers, boom, 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 pummeling each other out, and then I started thinking about like the Olympics. And you watch the Olympics, and you watch all the world leaders, and you watch the Queen coming out, and it just kind of like put me into this feeling about the Roman days, where all the elite would come together and their slaves would come and duke it out between each other. And like, how is it any different now? There's like an arena, we watch people duke it out. Some people get head injuries, or they break their neck, or there's a certain level of violence that exists underneath it. And I just was just processing all of this, and sometimes like I look at it and I go, this really kind of disgusts me, or sometimes I look at it and I go, I don't really get this, and then I get snobby and I think, oh, I'm just evolved past this, experience. And then I thought to myself, and I thought, really? Like, am I really evolved from it? Like, because then I realized that I participate in my own version of what I feel competition is. And, for example, I engaged in a show where comedians competed, to be the last comic standing. And people would ask me, after the experience, they go, so what's it like to be on a reality show? And I go, well, it's kind of like a 70s depression film that I saw called They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Because here it is where we are like, given this nugget that we think that, that this illusion of what we think that we could have in our life. It's like, this is the brass ring. What will you do to get the brass ring? Will you be a jerk? What kind of strategy are you going to get? And like this whole thing just all goes to, because we're the last comic standing. Wow. And I'm thinking like, well, can't we all just be funny? Like, how do we take one particular art form and go, oh, that art form is like the best because, it was on a reality show and it was the best. Like, we don't do competitions where we go, oh, this is Pablo Picasso, and over here is Salvador Dali. Screwed those names up, but you know what I'm talking about. And over here's Pablo Picasso and Salvador Dali, and they're in a head-to-head competition. They're going to do their paintings with crayons and cow dung. Now go. You, the audience, can vote. And by the way, last year we had Leonardo da Vinci won. And Leonardo, how's your career going now? Well, I was asked to paint the Sistine Chapel. It's like, this is not real. Like why is it that one thing has to be better than the other, and this whole thing? And then people say, well, you know what? It's down to Darwinism. It's like, it's survival of the fittest. You got to like knock out the other person so you can get like what's yours. And it's like this. And it's genetic. It's in our species. That's the way we do it. And I'm like, really? And then you even think about like how we even come on the planet, right? It's like a bunch of sperm has only one of them makes it to the egg, but sometimes they have challenges like spermicide and bad breath, but and I just like, well, what is all of this? Like, how is it that we evolved as a species beyond this point? And then I started to look at the World Cup. I went, wow, World Cup, kind of like a softer sport, not like so head-banging, the athletes have like longer bodies, they're not so steroided out, not quite as violent. It's a world game, so it's like it incorporates the world at a certain skill that happens. And my friend Ron, who's the comedian, and we were smoking weed and we were looking at the TV, and he was telling me about the World Cup, and he goes, the World Cup is really like, it's like a game that, at first I thought it was like a sissy game, and then I got into it, and he goes, I realized that ball going back and forth is just kind of like the sperm looking for the ovum, which is the goal. And I went, whoa. I looked at the field and I go, wow, that is like really true. And I thought, this is a more balanced game. Like, there is like the female and the male energy in it, and it's a little bit more nicer. It's kind of like the methadone to football. And I thought, well, maybe as a society, we are slightly evolving into this other extra little arena. So to wrap it all up, because you're probably like, what is the point of all of this, Terry? Well, the point is that if we stay in competition, if we stay going, who's the winner, who's the best, then where else does it translate to? It becomes wars and religion and politics, and it's just like one big manipulation after another. Like the philosophy is that, everybody's greedy, everybody has to get their own. And if you want to really get down to what Darwinism really is, it's about the most adaptable. Who is the most adaptable? I had an argument with a friend of mine about greed. I said, not everybody is greedy. He goes, yes, they are. That's the way the universe works. And I go, well, if everybody wants to get their own, then guess what? We all lose. But if we have a philosophy where it's not just me, but it's the entire whole, I want to make sure that my brother and sister is okay and has enough food to eat and happy shelter and a life and everything they need, as well as myself. And that, my friend, is evolution. So, anyways, now I'm off my soapbox. I'd like to welcome to the show, first of all, my co-host, Lori Buckley. Welcome to the show.
Great, beautiful day. So happy to be here, baby.
Great to have you here. And then also I have Stephen D. Kelly with us. So welcome. Thank you for doing the Freedom of Joy show today.
Thank you.
Thanks. So I read your book, and I got it like a couple of days ago. And, I got through, because I got it on Kindle, and, when you read it on Kindle, I get the first couple of parts read. Like the two little stars, I go, okay, I read a quarter of it. Yesterday I had, a super busy day, but I kept wanting to read it in between all the things I had to get done. And then last night, it was getting close to 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, God, I have 5 more chapters. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to read the rest of the book, because I was so engrossed with your story, and that I wanted to see it to completion. And I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. It does kind of pick up at the end, huh?
It does, because right when what I love about it is that it kind of plays out like a movie in some way.
Yeah, it is. That's a funny thing. Yeah, it's like a spy novel / action thriller type of thing, huh? Or spy drama or whatever you want to call it. Only it's real, huh?
Yeah, it's very, and also, your connection to James Bond.
All that stuff.
Yeah, as a running theme, and then how you brought that back into the story, because you were just like a regular guy, just not even. I mean, you didn't. I mean, you didn't have the education that some people in the field of what you went to would have had, and yet there you were.
Yep. Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, that's a joke. Actually, it's a big joke out there. University of Perkin-Elmer. It's a big giant corporation. It's like it's all physics, of course. And cutting edge technology and all that. But you don't get that in school. You only get that in the real world. And then when you are in the real world, you're still going to school. So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'll tell you, to be honest with you, as far as schooling goes, I was around more, engineers. I'd go to school, and then I'd come to work, and I'd have all these PhDs and everybody around me to basically answer any question I might possibly have. It was crazy, and these guys would just be, engineers walking around with coffee cup types, right? And they'd be more than happy to explain equations to you and things like that. It was one of those pretty cool, actually. So. One of the benefits of working for a ridiculous company like that.
I didn't realize you had a twin.
Yep, identical twin. That's a big part of the whole story too.
Yeah. And it's also interesting how you guys both were sort of doing the same type of work, only just a little bit different.
Right.
Yeah.
Different facets of the same industry, or the different processes in the same end product. Basically, that's what it was. Specializing in different areas of the manufacturing process. So, but that was certainly a big part of it. All that learning how to make the optics and stuff, because that basically when doing that, making optics, what we were doing is we were pushing the boundaries of what was physically possible, using the most state-of-the-art measuring tools, and then trying to go beyond what was able to be measured, so to speak. So it was constantly, by doing so, technology is all based on measurement, technically, and the ability to define smaller and smaller increments of measurement. And that's kind of the thing that we were doing. And the ability to do that allows you to make the semiconductors and all the solid-state technology that we take for granted today is all a result of the ability to make lenses that could make finer and finer detail, allowing for all this semiconductor production and everything else. Not to mention all the weapons they're using in the war, of course. Anyway, everything. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and also what I found fascinating about your story was just how the sequence of events happened to you, the synchronicity of your experience.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
If you are in the Portland, Oregon area and are an OMMP card holder, then come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market, Portland, Oregon's first and only weekly OMMP market, presented by the Alternative Wellness Center, located at 5241 Southeast 72nd Avenue, 2 blocks south of Foster Boulevard, close to public transportation, held every Sunday 10 a.m. till 7 p.m., connecting quality vendors with patients. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market also has a weekly raffle with products from every vendor. So come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market and have fun while connecting with quality vendors and getting great natural medicine. If you are a vendor and want a chance to connect with OMMP patients, you can check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/Alternative Wellness Center or call 971-888-4392. Be sure to register early because space is limited. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. Chill.
Legalize it, yeah.
Relax and burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special. 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigo products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigo lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com. Or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigo really is your sunlight in a box.
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.
Well, okay, I gotta ask you, Joyce. We were talking before the show started. What was your favorite part? Did anything blow you away? I mean, what shocked you the most? What was your favorite thing?
Okay. What was my favorite part? Okay, what I liked about it too was your viewpoint of people. The way you described a character. The way he looked. The fact that you'd say, he was one of those kind of smokers that would put like a half a cigarette in his pocket and you could smell it.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? Well, it would be Rob. That's a military thing, smoke them if you got them, they put them out real quick and put them in their pocket. That's an Army thing, I think.
Yeah. There was also, I don't know, there was one character that, when you met him, he had onion on his breath.
Yeah, the Gaston.
Yeah.
The French.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
And then there were some things that you would say about an experience or something like that, or your assessment, and then it would just the way you phrased it, it would just make me laugh. I go, wow. And it was interesting. I also liked the way you I guess maybe it was just to see how you looked at your experience was fascinating.
Well, of all the little events and crazy happenings and stuff like that, was there anything that kind of struck you that you enjoyed?
Well, there was something that really affected me. There was part of when I was reading the book, I had a kind of an aha moment. Where I went, oh, I knew that. And it happens like much later in the book, where you're saying something to a guy, and you leave the question out there, and you're waiting for the response. And he comes up, and his response is that the Nazis and the Jews are together on it.
Yeah. That would be Vince.
Yeah.
That guy died. By the way, that guy died. Okay, he's a casualty. He's no longer with us. In fact, I talked to other people in my industry who were also involved with these, special stuff, and they suggested to me, and I've also suspected this, that they took him out. He was heart attacked. My man Vince. I talked about that in the book. Vince was like a handler. He came into my life ostensibly to help me market this big plasma beam flashlight we had to a defense contractor, but they wanted it to turn into a weapon, and that kind of. But I think in reality, Vince was a handler, and I don't even know if Vince was human. He was a really strange character, but he was in New York, and from what I heard, he was on his way to a meeting or something. I mean, they say he had a heart attack, but from what I heard was. When they were carting him off, he was basically saying, "No, I'm not ready. Come on, don't do it. Blah, 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 whatever." It's almost so. But he was the one that coined the phrase "the cavers." Basically, he was one of them. He talked a lot about the undergrounds. His background I mean, just because he's an interesting character, and I don't even really go into that detail in the book too much, but his background, you have to remember. But anyway, he worked a lot in Africa with the CIA people and the international types trying to counter the growing Chinese influence, which is obviously very big. So from a geopolitical standpoint, the United States and China are fighting over Africa, obviously, with infrastructure and, all that, winning the hearts and minds of the people. But that was his thing. But he basically, I believe that he was one of several handlers that came along that was to try to manage me and at least become involved in my dealings and somehow try to manipulate me if possible. But he kind of failed. I think where he really failed was this thing where you brought up, like, okay, we might as well talk about that real quick because that was, yeah, okay. Yeah. That's a big deal. It really is.
It is.
All right. Well, the thing is, and this is extremely controversial, obviously, and I do so without any kind of animosity towards anybody at all. But if you read the notorious, the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, there is a very distinct passage in there where they refer to underground cities and how these underground cities will be equipped with explosives should the population ever rise up against these people, they will blow up these places and take these cities with them. Not the underground cities, but the cities above. In other words, they would build these cities underneath metropolitan areas, capitals and what have you, and then they would rig them with explosives. I'm assuming these are like nukes or something. But remember, we're talking about a book that was written, 100 years ago. Okay, at least over 100 years ago, probably. Anyway, even way back then, they were talking about this stuff. Well, one day, this is how the story goes. I sent an email to this guy Vince, and the email was very simple. All it was a passage, which was like a sentence or two out of this paragraph. No, I think it was like paragraph 9, or let me see. There's sections, okay, like chapter 9, paragraph 10, something like that, or chapter 10, paragraph 9, I believe it is, where they talk about the metropolitans. And I can almost quote the line, but, a lot of people might find it offensive, so I'm not going to do it. But anyway, I quoted this line to this guy in this email, and that's, like he said, it was a test to see how he would respond, because it was almost like an admission. It's like, hey, guys, I know what's up, da-da-da, kind of a thing, so to speak. Like I'm not an idiot. It's not the first time I have handlers following me around and trying to get me to do things. And anyway, then he comes back with this line and says, hey, we're not all Jews, we're also Nazis. But the thing is, beyond just that one statement, which was mind blowing to me in itself, because here I was thinking that the Getty was a bunch of Zionist people, because it seemed to coincide with the protocols, of course. And if you look at the architecture, it looks like King Solomon's temple. So right away you're thinking, okay, it looks more Zionist than anything else. And then these guys say, oh no, Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. And then you realize, yeah, this is very true. There are these real Nazis there, and the Nazis do this, and the Nazis do that, and they've got Nazi mind control, Nazi psychics, blah, 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 and it's like 50%. And then you look at the Templars, and Templars, people are more inclined to think of Templars as Nazis than they are as Zionists, but anything Masonic, of course, is Zionist. So that's just the way it is. And, but the details of all that question are far more complex and incestuous than you can imagine, and obviously it goes back to the days of King David and King Solomon, and we don't need to get into that. But the bottom line, though, is that probably Vince got in trouble, I'm pretty sure, for saying that to me. I'm pretty sure that might have been one of the reasons why he kind of failed as a handler, because he sort of responded in an inappropriate way. But to go on about how he did respond, he did something that I've heard from other people in other circumstances that I'll explain, and that was he started making references to God and Satan and Christ and all this. In other words, he went into defense mode, but he went into overkill. He didn't just defend the collaboration of the Nazis and the Jews, he also went into defending Satan and Lucifer and tried to say that God and Satan were the same thing and stuff like this. And I've heard that before. And the other time I've heard that, very, very same defense line was from Bora, who was the remote viewer who went down there into the bottom of the Getty and found the satanic sacrifices going on down there. Because when she basically came back from her little trip down to the bottom, she immediately went into the defense of Satanism, which was what somebody in her position, which was very pagan, anti-paternalistic religion, earth religion type person would be, a witch per se. But, obviously Bora was a blue blood European. I think she was Yugoslavian or something like that, or Austria or something of this nature. But anyway, she was obviously a very gifted psychic and very gifted remote viewer. But after she went to the bottom of the Getty, yes, she reported everything that she saw, but yes, she also went into this defense mode of Satanism, so to speak. And that's the exact same thing that this guy did when I confronted him with this line out of the protocols. So, how about that?
Yeah, and I noticed that in the book too, like the correlation between the statement of like, yeah, it's the same. Well, it's the same thing. God is Satan, Satan is God. And the philosophy of that. We're going to take a commercial break here. It's not really a commercial break. We're going to take a break here with our.
Oh, you got 30-minute breaks. I see that.
Yeah. So that's going to come up here in a minute. But there's something that I'd like to share after the break with you.
The reason why that particular passage, made a light go off, a bell go off in my own head, because that's one of the things that, especially like when you covered the subject matter of the underground Nazi bases in the Antarctic. I was interested in that because I always felt that there was some sort of Nazi alien connection with what happened in World War II and into now. And I had also stumbled on some information about the Real Society and the women with the psychics with the long hair and all of that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to see how everything is somewhat tied in to what might be happening on the planet.
Totally.
We'll be right back with more Freedom of Joyce. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Freedom of Joy show. With me is Stephen D. Kelly and my co-host Lori Buckley. Welcome back to the show, you guys.
Cool.
Lori, is there anything that you would like to ask Stephen right now?
Well, I have to say, I'm all ears because it puts so many things I've read over the years together, and what it must be like to carry a burden of so much information and a prognosis that sounds so deceptive, and yet the people that came to you were risking themselves to enlighten you for, I'm just guessing, for the greatest possible good to happen beyond the negative of which they'd seen. Is it something like that?
Well, Vince, I wouldn't say was coming to me to enlighten me. Vince was coming to me to try to control me. The bad guys sent him into my life to try to get close. That's one of the things they do. They'll either try to hire you or get you under contract in some way, or they'll get somebody to act as a customer of yours, or somebody that is like a representative for some business transaction, or some mentor of some sort. They'll come into your life one way or the other, and at all kinds of different times. And usually when somebody's trying to do like the screw you over, you basically look at whatever it was that you were doing at the time and figure that you must be doing something right and keep doing that. So, but it also, that's when you, but as far as learning and information goes, when you and anybody that goes through this wake up process does this. I'm pretty, unless you're just wake up all the time, you were born that way. But it seems to me that when someone gets shaken or awake by some traumatic exposure, so to speak, the first thing they do is everything they thought they knew they throw out the window, and you have to start over. And for me, to answer the questions that I had to take a look at history. I had to really understand people because I was looking for the source of ancient hatreds, involving biblical genocides and things like this. And I had to know who came from where and what, et cetera, et cetera. So, so this was all history, all religion, all mythology, everything, all the various religious texts of all the various different cultures, and you learn a lot of things. You certainly learn where everybody comes from, and then when you add in all the alien stuff, you get their perspective, and you kind of overlay what they're. There's multiple different versions of what happened out there that you just sort of have to try to work out, and it seems to me that the most, or when you get to a certain point, and it's very much like a puzzle. People use this puzzle analogy quite a bit, but once you get a lot of those puzzle pieces there and you start to see the overall picture, a lot of things become simpler, and it's also that way when you get into the physics and some of the technology involved in some of these advanced concepts, So it all adds up, basically. But the more you get, the simpler it all seems, really.
And the ultimate goal, obviously, is the control of people that want to control civilization, the situation on the planet. What is the hope that keeps you going?
Hope? Well, it's a fight, huh, Terry? It's not a hope. If I had hope, I wouldn't be doing this. Seriously. If I was like everybody else and thought, I'm going to work hard and come home and have a beer and watch TV and the game and then retire and take a vacation in Cabo for 2 weeks and all that sort of thing and play with my toys on the weekend, to go back to sleep and to have that lifestyle and to buy insurance and to have credit cards and, get vaccinated, right?
I mean about you. What is, because you're still on the trail.
I am fighting the good fight, and right now I have, I said this sounds kind of morbid. No, I don't want to sound morbid, but and I think, Terry, hopefully you'll understand what I'm talking about, but the situation right now means that we're in a battle, and those of us that are in the battle, that are really slugging it out 100% of the time, there is no taking a break right now. There's no R&R. Charlie don't have USO, as they say. So it's not going to, this will be continuous until it's over. And, and as it is right now, as of just recently, things got stepped up in the world, and those of us that are on the front lines of trying to fight this evil are going to be very busy if they are truly involved. And the way I see it right now, there's no rest for the wicked. This is it. This is it till the end. There's no,
it's game on.
It's game on. The war is on, and there's no more vacation. That's how it is right now.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. Chill.
Legalize it, yeah.
Relax and burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special. 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com. Or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
I do feel that. I feel that that is coming, and
It's on. It's on.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
on.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's on. I mean, they're sending in the tanks. They're sending in the armored vehicles. You know, they got their bullets. They got their armor. They got their goon squads. It's only a matter of time. And those of us that are on the front lines, I mean, what do you think they're going to do to me when they start rounding people up? I mean, come on, I'm not on their red list unless they can't touch me. But I mean, all of us, So, but that's the thing. Up until that time comes, we're going to keep throwing rocks into the pond, and we're hoping that everybody out there listening is going to throw rocks, and there's going to be lots of ripples, and it's just going to keep going outward and outward, and hopefully, we can have an effect on what actually happens. So that's why we're doing what we do.
Is it consciousness? What does your effort look like?
My effort.
What it is that you, being on the front line of what it is you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that you can tell us how that works for you and how we can grasp it once we get over the shock of the total undermining of the civilization as we know it? What are the things? It can't be just awareness, or is it?
First of all, you have to take your truth by the teaspoon. You cannot swallow the truth all at once. Somebody has to feed it to you by the teaspoon. And the same thing works for fear. You have to lose the fear, and that's psychic development and development of the spirit is and the adoption of a service to others lifestyle. Those are the secrets of the universe, and the number one secret of the universe, of course, is the service to others lifestyle, as opposed to the service to self lifestyle. That is number one secret of the universe, and everything else is devoted to that and connected to that. And the ramifications of doing this have great effect on your psychic abilities, your protective abilities, your communication skills, on and on and on and on. And ultimately, as we go into this transition that people feel that we are going into, these skills are going to become very useful, and they're going to become the most valuable thing we can possess. Basically, we will be able to alter reality. We're moving into a realm right now, a reality where what we perceive as reality right now will be able to be altered with just our thoughts, and that's the magic part of the book, obviously, and that's what it is. We talk about manifestation, and in metaphysics community, people talk about manifestation and they practice it, and trust me, it works. I talk about that in my book, and ultimately, the ultimate use of that power will be instantaneous manifestation, and that's voila, magic, abracadabra. That's what that's all about, and people are going to be able to do it. People can do it. I mean, trust me, throughout history, there are people that actually have been able to do magic, but we call it magic here in the West, and in the East they call it something else.
It's the aha moment. In metaphysics, they say fear stands for false evidence appearing real, and I love that. I thought that was magnificent. And I met a gentleman named Olaf Johnson, who was a really amazing psychic, worked on the NASA experiment, and he totally just was the most amazing person. I met him in his 80s. He said he met the same aliens 4 times. He was the first guy to ever go into the ocean and say the treasure's right there, and it was. And he believed in changing the dice. He was teaching another gentleman about throwing the dice and altering their outcome. And he was amazing. He put little envelopes up to his head when I had him in a documentary. And I said, "You want me to tell you what that is?" And he said, "What would you like it to be?" And I knew it was a circle right away. So I believe, so when we awaken from the big sleep and understand what is happening, as our consciousness changes, then it must alter the other consciousnesses around us. Is it something like that?
Well, truth is like fire, and we are trying to light fires, and we're trying to get other people to light fires, and truth will consume everything if it is allowed to spread. And that's what it's all about. And some people's truth burns brighter than others, but it only takes a little tiny truth, such as a spark, to make the whole thing go up. And that's the object of what we're doing with the truth, is we're trying to light fires. And I'll tell you one thing about the truth that's very important, is that it is pure. There is no flavors of truth. There is no black and white. There is no shades of gray. There is only one truth. And that is a very important factor. And as far as consciousness is concerned, spirituality, and again, what is achieved through the acceptance of the spirit's service to others lifestyle is a major part. And if people did learn to open their chakras and to increase the flow of chi through their bodies, and to decalcify their pineal glands, and all of these things, and increase their gravity. But you see, this is the thing that one of the biggest things people worry about: mind manipulation and scalar pollution and cell phones and what have you. The best protection you can have against any of this activity, this EMF, this negative waveforms attacking your body, is to have a service to self lifestyle whereby you become a gravity giver as opposed to a gravity taker. So by serving others, not serving self, by serving others, you actually are creating a type of field around you that is repelling this stuff. It's a very strong aura, and I call it spiritual armor. and it's definitely something that you can have. And if you're going to be going down this path, dealing with these dark side and sticking your neck out like this, it really helps to have that spiritual armor. Otherwise, they'll drive you nuts. They'll screw with you. I mean, that's not to say they can't screw with you, because they do screw with you monetarily, and they don't screw with you directly. They usually send people into your lives that are easily manipulated, and those are the people that screw with you. But either way.
I have a slogan that says the only thing the truth lacks in this world is a sponsor. We become the sponsors of that truth. Because I totally, for 2 years, I had no insurance on my car in Nevada, so I put white light around myself, gave them the Obi-Wan, I'm not the one you're looking for, and blessed the whole neighborhood so I could roll safely. And I'll tell you, it treated me better than Farmers Insurance ever did. So I'm making light of my little funny, but I totally draw from the universe and draw energy, and I understand sharing it with people, and I have no resistance to wanting to give energy to others, as well as recognizing that I must also keep some for myself, because that was part of a lesson that I learned, and I'm very grateful for that.
Stephen, I know that we're I'd like to, because we're in the first hour, I just want to make sure that people know right now where they can get your book at.
Thank you, Terry. Again, name of the book, and I love coming on your show, Terry, and I love having you on my show. So it's this is just an obligatory thing we do to try to sell the book, I guess. But I do appreciate the opportunity. But I really want to hear more about what you enjoyed about it. But anyway, again,
I do, and there's something I do want to share with you too.
Right.
About it, the connection that I made, and this is actually something I've never really said publicly because it was a very embarrassing moment, but there's a connection, there's a realization that I had reading your book where I went, oh my God, there's something much deeper here. And there was, I had worked on a film, and I was going to a cast party, which was held at a place called Jumbo's Clown Room. Have you ever heard of that before, Stephen?
I don't recall, no.
Okay, well, it's in Hollywood, and it's like a bikini bar. It's it has like the stripper pole, and but it's not a nude place. And it's kind of like, I don't know, like Courtney Love used to be a waitress there. A friend of mine, Tanya Moon, was bartending and waiting tables that night. And there was another friend of mine that I had done stuff with that was a kind of a producer, writer kind of guy, Charlie. And I took a cab to get there. I didn't drive my car. And I was kind of awkward because, you go to a place like that, and it was a while before anybody that I knew showed up. So, I'm having a drink, and this other man starts talking to me. And because I'm just kind of chatty and nervous and just kind of wanting to talk to somebody for a few minutes, I start talking to him and telling him a little bit about myself, et cetera, et cetera. And my friend Charlie comes in, and they start conversing, and the guy goes, I'd like to buy you a drink. And I said, oh, sure, And so he buys me a drink, and I take a few sips off of it. And then we go outside, and, with Charlie. Charlie seemed to frequents, Jumbo's Clown Room a lot, and we were all sitting in a circle, and we were smoking a joint. And we, passed around this joint for a while, and I talked, and then I came back, and the guy who bought me the drink looked at me, and he goes, and he was, to me, I thought he was a struggling artist. For some reason, I felt sympathy and wanting to encourage him. And he says, I have to go home now, but I'll see you later. And I said, okay. And so I kept drinking my drink, and something very strange happened to me. And it was like, I jumped into I'm pretty sure I was drugged. And I kind of went into this other sort of reality where something else was going on in my head than was actually happening in the room. And this is what difficult for me to say. I went on stage, and I took my clothes off, okay, first of all, which was so uncharacteristic of anything that I would have ever done. And I had this weird perception of I couldn't tell what was happening. Like all I could hear was like it sounded like a bar fight happened, but the sound wasn't like matching what my reality was. And I screamed out some very odd things that when I said them, I thought about it later and I was like, where did that come from? Why would I scream this out? But I remember screaming out, I'm Hitler, and then I said, I'm Jewish, and then I said, I'm an angel of mercy, which was a very bizarre thing for me to say. Very, very, very bizarre. And it wasn't something that I actually thought about or was, researching. I wasn't completely awake yet. I mean, I was in the process of really realizing that things were going on, and life had gotten a lot more complex for me than originally my first, when you start to wake up and things start happening, it's like going down a rabbit hole. So, but I had no connection why I had said it. And then I would have like a break in reality, and all of a sudden I'd have a flash of screaming at the car where my friends were trying to shove me in the car, and I would say strange. I remember saying things like, "Stop it! I want to get off of this right now," like as if I could stop time and jump out of the track of reality that I was in. And then it took me a long time. Like I took care of an elderly woman, and here I was at the door, like completely naked and just completely like a mess, just a mess. And she said, "Oh, bring her in, bring her in." And she sat with me like the whole night, but it kind of felt like things were just sort of like floating for me. And I woke up the next morning and I thought, okay, I was hoping that it hadn't really happened. And it did. But, the good thing is that, my friend said, well, they're going to put a plaque on the wall, maybe of the most obnoxious people at Jumbo's Clown Room, right, with Courtney Love. She goes, I haven't even made the wall. And then they invite me to their Christmas party afterwards, which I still don't really understand. Like I'm like, I totally like knocked off the entire course of the night. And now when I read your book, and then I see the connection, I'm trying to figure out what happened to me, because I'm an empath. So I wondered if I was so drugged that I was just feeling the energy of somebody else's or the building or what was the remnants. But anyways, that when I read that passage in that book, I had to take a moment and take a breath, and then the rest of everything kind of flooded back to me. And so that particular passage, for some reason, resonated with me on a super deep core.
Well, that was something to do with the Getty, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it was like the
There's a couple times there was a couple times where one was talking about Noah's Ark, I think, and then there was talking about the Getty, going around the different rooms in the Getty.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, that's true, but you do that all day. Everybody does that, right? When they walk into a room, they have a certain feeling about what's going on and the people in the room. And that's the thing. When you're empathic, if like you say, Terry, sometimes it's difficult. It really is. It all, and that's why, I could think of so many times where I've had issues. I mean, just like when I'm dealing with the animals, they're dying animals. So obviously, you're empathic. It hurts that much more. But, and you're hurting people when you're healing people, when you're starting out and this kind of, you don't know how to get rid of the energy, it can be kind of damaging because you're sucking up all this nasty stuff, so to speak. But when you go into bars sometimes, or restaurants, busy restaurants, sometimes it's too much.
Right.
All the people, all their baggage, depending, especially obviously sometimes it's worse than other times, and it's annoying sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes it's just amusing, and, sometimes it just sucks to be right all the time, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if people think you're
to recognize.
Yeah, it's like people think, oh yeah, you're just using common sense, blah blah. It's like, well, I think it's a little bit more than that. You kind of yeah, well, this person thinks that, and this person thinks that, and this person's having this issue, this person here is really frustrated in their marriage, and blah blah blah. And it's just you just go down the laundry list, and sometimes you don't pay attention, and sometimes it's just really loud. right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You're trying to relax, and it's just really loud.
Yeah. And then what I thought was, like, because of the fact that I was drugged, you know, like I had no filter at that point, you know, and so, you know, there's this kind of, you know, like it was just like I don't know, it was very, very strange, and not my finest moment in life, to say the least. But again, you know, that experience has, like, you know, woken me up to certain truths, though, and so that I think that that's ultimately, you know, where we're going. I feel.
Yeah, well, sure thing.
It has to be within you.
What?
It has to be, you develop that space within yourself as you recognize the truth about energy and the positive and negative that you're feeling. It's kind of like our core issues. It takes a little bit of time to understand it, but then you begin to trust that. How does it feel? And then you have to look at yourself. Am I in a positive position myself? Or sometimes I actually, which I'm a very giving person, very empathetic also, but there are times when I go, not today, because I can feel it's going to take more energy than I'm willing to possess at the moment. So I will back away. But I learned much from animals that were dying, and I consider it a pleasure to be honored if I'm near something that is passing into the next dimension.
I was kind of going through the website a little bit looking for it, and I thought, well, I'd ask you too. I meant to ask you before the show, but the auction might still be going on. So if it is, please, you know, check out what you'd like, make a bid. It's really fun, and you can make a donation and find out everything about us at freedomslips.com. And before the break, Lori asked you a question. Lori, would you like to go ahead and ask that now at the second hour?
I'm so excited to hear everything that we're talking about right now. My mind is just whirling with coolness and also awareness. How do you recharge from having to be carrying all this information and being able to see what we're just learning to see now? How do you deal with it?
All right. Well, first of all, from a recharging standpoint, if you mean like chi and energy and all that sort of thing, good chi, obviously, as opposed to bad chi. But what we're doing right here, right now, by sending information out to the masses, so to speak, when there's an information flow in one direction, there is energy traveling back in the opposite direction. Same thing as when you're healing and you're sending energy into somebody's body, you are receiving information directly back that same path. That's the way. It's kind of like a phone line that goes in infinite numbers of directions. So anytime you have energy flowing in one direction, you've also got it flowing back in the other direction. And you also have information corresponding. It's kind of like that's the way the nature works, and it's a pretty important point, you know, because it's like gravity, for instance. People think gravity is an energy. It's really an information. It's instructions. Gravity is like intention, which is just instructions. Intention is a wave form that has a certain squiggle that basically represents a certain bit of information, and that's what we do when we think and we pray and we send out healing. As we work with waveforms, and healing, of course, is having the higher vibration, and when you are healing somebody, you are basically recalibrating their vibration to your vibration, and you can't make them bad because it's only going to go to the higher vibration. But as far as negative energy and negative chi, I wanted to say this before the break. I was thinking about it before you said anything. Sometimes when you're healing, it depends on the person. It's like I said, we all want to endeavor to be gravity producers. We want to be putting gravity out. That's the service to others thing. And as such, it's hard to put energy into somebody who is putting energy out more than you could possibly. It's like trying to take a torch to the sun. It's not very effective. If you know what I'm saying. You're trying to light a fireball on fire, if you will, with a match. It's not going to make much difference. But when you talk about pain, when you're healing, when you're using Reiki and when you're using even pranic healing, Reiki, of course, being more Asian, and pranic healing being Hindu nature, it's basically the same thing. It's two forms of energy healing that are very prominent in the world. They tend to deal, and even Wilhelm Reich talks about this, they tend to deal with positive chi and negative chi, or good prana, negative prana, pranic energy. And of course, Wilhelm Reich called it orgone, and he said you had good orgone and bad orgone. Same thing, it's cosmic energy, whatever you want to call it, positive ions, negative ions. But when you're straining somebody's aura or doing a Reiki exercises, or even when you're doing pranic healing, you always dump the negative chi somewhere, not on other people. You kind of start at the head and go down at the feet, and then you sort of toss it. And water is very good for this also. Water is a superconductor for chi. So a lot of times it's like I like to have a bowl of water at the foot of the people. If somebody's laying on the table, I have a bowl of water at their feet, so I've got a place to dump this energy. I can toss it at the bowl of water, and I swear when I toss this energy at the bowl of water, you see the water ripple. Okay, I mean it's crazy. When I'm wringing my hands and I'm tossing that energy off my hands, you see it hit the water. It's the funniest thing. I see the water move afterwards. But
dimensional evidence, like it's so beautiful.
There it is. It's like I'm dumping. Because a lot of times when you're doing Reiki, you see people, they shake their hands, they kind of shake them off. Well, last night I was working on this person. It wasn't working, of course. I was doing everything I could, but it started as I put out energy out of my left hand and I take energy in my right hand. That's a male thing. Women do it the opposite way. But anyway. So I'm trying to push energy out of my left hand, and it's getting all warm, and it's not supposed to get warm. It's supposed to get cool. Which it's getting all warm. I mean, it's more is going in than it's going out. And it's overloading. And the next thing I know, my hand's getting numb. It's traveling up my wrist. I'm like, okay, that's I go run my hand under water. I wash it off and try to clean it that way. But as far as from an empathic standpoint, we brought this up earlier. When you're doing distance healing, you don't really have that so much. Obviously, you're not having that close contact. You're not within that person's aura, per se. And distance healing is still very effective, but you do still get that empathic thing. Like if you're dealing with somebody who's really screwed up, I mean, depending on how hard you're trying to deal with this situation, you can feel a lot of the negative emotions associated with that accident that person had or whatever it was that caused that person to be having this injury. So, and, you work. I mean, it's like someone has a headache, you have a headache. Somebody has a sore arm, you get a sore arm. It's just whatever, backache. Little things like that. That's the sort of thing empaths have to deal with when they're around other people's issues.
Yeah.
And when you release it, you put your hand. For you at that moment, you put your hand under water to recharge or let go.
Well, that's what I did last night. I wanted to get rid of that energy. I went and I didn't just shake it off. I went and ran water over my hands, washed it away, so to speak. Water is good for that. Water is a chi superconductor, as I mentioned, and it has the ability to, it has a tetrahedral structure capable of containing energy. That's the nature of water. It's just like a big battery, so to speak.
Like in What the Bleep Do We Know, the beautiful examples they gave of putting labels like love on
that's
water.
the Dr. Emoto thing, right, yeah.
I love that. I thought that was
Which you make
beautiful.
a reference to in your book as well.
Yeah, well, I definitely talk about Dr. Emoto and water because it is so important. It's one of the, that's the thing, though. It's mostly an autobiography, but towards the end, though, I kind of sum up some of the, I try to pass on some tools, right? Isn't that what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously certain understandings of some of these concepts, like what we're discussing right now with the water. I mean, we could go into that quite into detail, but why it does that way, what it does, and all the various people who, like Dr. Emoto, of course, who people need to read about. Obviously, Dr. Emoto. If you haven't read about Dr. Emoto, you want to read about him. Can't remember his name. You also want to read about Schauberger. You want to read about Wilhelm Reich. You want to read about Tesla. That's your reading list, your homework. But, yeah, but after you read my book, which is, we never got to say it, huh?
We didn't say it.
Yeah, Cities Under the Plain. Right now it's only available on Kindle, Amazon Kindle, but if you don't have a Kindle tablet or whatever, you can still download a app on your PC or whatever your device for free that will allow you to read the Kindle material. $7 is the book. I think it's $7. Yeah.
$6.99.
$6.99. $6.99. Which I mean, I could give it away, but I gotta. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to get rich. But Terry, I'll tell you, it would be fun to actually see if to go on Amazon. Go, oh look, I sold 4 books, or I sold 5 books. You know, because we get a lot of listeners, and it's like, oh gosh, I was thinking last night when I had this ridiculous amount of listeners, if I had $1 for every one of them, oh my God.
Well, that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because I know you, right, and I know you struggle, and as well as a lot of us who are doing this right now we're not rich, and in some ways, have fallen out of what we'd say our chosen field way of doing something. It's an uncharted thing, and again, I don't know about you, but I spend hours and hours and hours preparing, doing, editing, and then executing it, everything that it takes to, get information out to people. And basically, what I think of is like, if I were to say, well, what can I contribute to the knowledge that I know, or elevating consciousness, or being what you say, the warrior in the fight, because the game's on, right? Would be this particular, what I'm doing right now. I feel like what you're doing right now. I mean, obviously, you were in a field that paid you pretty good money. I mean, when you read the book, you see where you go up and down, and the business deals, and all of the game playing that goes on, and the sacrifices that you did. Your ideas being taken, and just all of that stuff, which is what happens to someone like you, or someone who creates things, or is an entrepreneur in some way, and then now, it honestly, it concerns me. It concerns me to see you put on Facebook that your power cord is falling apart, and you're taping it together with the picture of it, and yet you don't have the money to keep the computer on. That is the connector to keeping what you're doing here on Revolution Radio. And I just want to say to the listeners out there, or somebody who sees this YouTube video, not only is the book, worth purchasing because of the volume of information that's in it, and also the honesty and almost the vulnerability of the way that you tell how you got involved, and then your own personal journey into your own awareness and your own, like you say, the adjusting of you realize that everything that you thought before wasn't the same, and then you're readjusting of that to where you are today, talking about, water and chi and, energy and, how to heal ourselves, and also like how to possibly, manifest the world and the reality in which you live in. For me, that's the hope right there, is to know that despite all of this darkness that is going on, that we actually have the ability to open our hearts up and bring in this new love, this new world that we can create and participate in, and that we are not victims to anymore.
Well, I want to say something real quick. The victim is a good word, first of all, and the thing is that yes, when you expose this stuff, you tend to get angry. And because of who I was and what I was being programmed to do, and again, when you get exposed to this stuff, you got to be very careful not to become a tool, because you might go off, and you might go off in the direction that they want you to go off. So you got to be very careful of that, which was something I was always worried about, was becoming a tool. Everything I did, I realized, wait a minute, am I being a tool now, or was I a tool before? It was always worrisome. But the thing is that you decide, okay, screw you, you want to destroy the world, I'm going to fight you with tooth and nail. and fight back, and I'm going to fight on the side of the rest of the world that you want to destroy. And you become a warrior, but then you realize is that it's not about, like if I want to get biblical, I want to say, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, and that's what the way it works out. And it turns out that no, we're not here to fight each other. This is all about fighting the bad guys, and the best way, it's more noble to serve the victim than it is to fight the oppressor.
I agree with you on that too as well. But don't you think that there is, for me, like when I look at it, it's like, well, it's about our empowerment in many ways. When I'm talking about it, I'm talking about it in.
Well, let me say this. The reason why I got into all the psychic stuff in the first place was because they were using it, and I realized that if it was important to them, it should become important to me. And when I realized I was looking for weapons and tools to use, remember, this all came from looking how to fight aliens. Okay, they wanted me to figure out how to fight aliens, and I came to the conclusion that the psychic stuff was the only way to go. That's when I went and started going hardcore into the psychic stuff. And once you get hardcore into the psychic stuff and you get all soft and fuzzy and metaphysical, you realize things aren't quite, you can't help it. You know what I'm saying? You get exposed to the light side, and you become part of the whole love and light thing, and you lose that. But see, that's the thing, is I am bringing this dark side with me, and that gives me an advantage over everybody else, is because I have that balance. I've got the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak. And that's what it takes to have enlightenment, because enlightenment, at least in this level of reality, is based on an understanding of everything, even stuff that is dead negative and nasty that you don't want to know about. So all these people, love and light people, that think that knowing about the bad stuff is giving energy to the bad stuff, they're deluding themselves, and they're being tools of the dark side, because the dark side likes it when you don't know. They like living in the dark. That's the nature of the dark. The truth is the light, and the truth is what makes the dark go away. So that's what we do. We lift up the rocks and shine the light into the dark places. That's the idea of what we're trying to do here. That's what the book's all about. Hopefully it'll wake up people.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. Chill. Relax and burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special, 7 nights in sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com, or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
I like that aspect of the book as well, because you do tell it like it is, and yet at the end, there is a solution, and there is that acknowledgement of the balance. And I also like the fact that you said it's not about, like, you mentioned it as like aliens. You put it in the alien form where it's like the benevolent aliens, or the aliens that know the wisdom, aren't going to force their ideas on somebody, because that would be the same as what the opposition was doing. So there's this you know what I'm saying? There's a balance between saying, well, I see the world this way, and this is the way that I want it to be, and yet not doing that, and yet being part of the positive process or the evolution of who we are. Because what I feel is happening right now is that, or the light within all of this is, like, through all of this darkness and this acceptance of going, yeah, these people over here, they have been doing that. But to be really black and white about them and go, oh, they're just bad people, they're bad souls. I always feel, I'm under the belief or that my intuition tells me that we've all come out of darkness in some ways, or have went ahead and explored the dark aspects of humanity, whether it's this lifetime or previous lifetimes that we may have been evolved to. All of us at some point have probably evolved up the chart. And so, again, there is that philosophy of, well, the dark is reflecting the lightness that I see now, because if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't know what it was, and therefore it becomes more real for you and tangible, because you know what the opposition of what that is.
You can't be afraid to understand what you see. I've had many things I didn't want to know at first what it was about, but I could not help but learn and to see it so that I could recognize it, so that I could put it in my file under interesting and keep it an amazing mind of consciousness, so that we could recognize what may not be what it is. And it's not easy sometimes to digest the dark side, but I consider it very important, so that I can understand its strategy, how it lives, like a host, like a parasite. It wants to graze heavily. And so I've looked, and sometimes I was the annoying person to my friends when I tried to discuss it, but it did not keep me from what I was learning, and I think it's very important also.
Stephen, so where can people buy your book?
Yeah, Kindle, Amazon Kindle. Gotta go online.
Okay, all right, because I want to make sure that they know that, and also when they read it to give a review, because the more reviews you get.
You know what's going to be fun right now? I'm going to go look at the numbers real quick. just for fun. I can really pull that. I'm gonna go, wow, Carrie, look,
Maybe we can get it to go up like right during the show.
Yeah, just so people realize that it's not like they're just, making rich or anything else. I can put up, I'm seriously, I'll bet you anything I was going to see 0 here. Let me look.
No, well, let's be
positive.
Let's be positive.
Two right now, 2.
You got 2 new sales?
I got 2 cents. Well, I don't know if they're 2 cents to whatever, 12 a.m. this morning. So.
Oh, good.
How about that? They weren't there when I went to bed last night at 1:30. So hey.
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 How many have you sold altogether?
No, less than 100 in the last 30 days. I'm looking at a little graph. The most I sold in one day was 9, and the average, it was about 2 a day, but then it seems like it's probably a little bit more. I haven't looked at the average, but suffice it to say, the royalty isn't a whole lot. You get, different, in the United States you get 70% if you choose that, and then they also have, in different countries like in Europe you get 35%, and places, it's different. And then out of all that, after the taxes, they take 28%, something like that. You get about roughly 30%, if you're lucky. From U.S. and obviously in Great Britain, it's a lot less.
So we need to sell a lot of.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun? That's the guy. I've been told you're either Harry Potter or you're like nothing. Basically, that's the way that works with books nowadays. People don't read. I may do I'm thinking about recording it and attaching that to the book. So you buy the book, you get the recording. People might like that.
I think that's a great idea.
They don't have to read it. They go, oh yeah, I bought the book. I just push a button and I get to read it to them.
I bought many books. I bought many books for people that I didn't realize till I looked at them a little closer. Because the great thing about hearing the voice is that your hands can work. It's the beauty of radio. You're not having to watch something, but your auditory is working wonderful to take in something while you're going through your life and doing whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. And I think it's a great idea. Plus, you have a wonderful voice, and I think that the truth of you will come through your vocalness, and I think it's a wonderful idea.
Well, Stephen is kind of, you're kind of that, you're an interesting person in the sense that, you were skilled with, making jewelry and optic lenses and laser, you could create all the guns and everything that you created with the laser. I mean, it was just, I was really kind of in awe. And also, what you and your brother's creations did to revolutionize things. It was like, wow, it was very fascinating, but at the same time, you're a good speaker, you're charismatic, so you almost you have like quasi, entertainment skills. And
quasi.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
Quasimodo.
Yeah. I mean, I could give you a few pointers, but no.
All right, yeah, okay, that sounds good, sure.
But very minor. But yeah, I mean, and so you're kind of in this. I feel that it's just your path to to go through this, and then to have these other set of skills to now be a speaker about it. And I noticed that Rhonda in the chat, she put she said that she put the website for people to go to. So it's www.amazon.com/DP/B00L57H1WM. I just thought I'd say that verbally in case somebody's maybe watching a YouTube video later going, I don't see anything in the chat room. But and I'll make sure that I have a link out there for people later on. You mentioned like, well, I don't want to get rich from this, and that's really a nice thing because a lot of people, that do what we do, to look like you want to make a bunch of money or have a bunch of recognition and stuff like that, kind of denounces the truth of the story, and I feel like it makes people, it's a deception rather than, it's not for profit.
Watch out for the ones that are making a lot of money.
Right. But at the same time, we do need to make money, and because I don't feel that someone like you at this point in their life should actually not have the things that they need and to be suffering.
Yeah, but what do you do when you've already had all that stuff and then you lost it, and then you're going to go back in the mode of even wanting it again? it's because it's a burden. Remember, you have all this stuff weighing you down, and then when you lose it, you don't have it, and then you're going to take it back on again. It's kind of going in the wrong direction.
Right. But, not to have, you need to have money to get a power cord, Stephen.
I had a crown fall off. I'm sitting here playing with a jagged tooth. I'm thinking, yeah, great, I can't even afford a hygienist, let alone a crown.
Yeah. So,
I think it's awesome, exactly the way you're living it. You will attract the proper dentist to come to you because you have endured through these things. My dad was a hipster named Lord Buckley, and he lived he was ahead of his time, or maybe he was on time and the rest of the world wasn't happening yet. But he was an artist, and he believed in himself. And as you understand the power of manifestation and the law of attraction, that these things must, by the beauty of the work that you're doing, must come your way. And I'm right now wishing you thousands of blessings of beauty and energy to come to take care of the things that you require and that you choose to put into your life, because I totally agree. When my dad had nothing, he went out and found something and continued his message, which was all about love, the power of love and the beauty of people.
Stephen D. Kelly and also Lori Buckley. I want to thank you guys for doing the show today. I really enjoyed the subject matter, what you've written about, and it's been a fun show for me. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, Stephen, is what is your favorite part of your book?
Huh.
Do you have one?
Well, there was one part that actually got removed, and that was the animal part that was pretty good, so that the editor thought that probably wasn't appropriate. It was kind of so if you read the first edition, there was something in there that's not in the new one. But I think the part on the Metropolitans, upon the Getty, the Getty is plays a very prominent in the whole story, of course, but I think the part about, dealing with them, all the revelations, and not necessarily just the whole discovery of the undergrounds, but just how things developed after they sort of decided they had to deal with us and that kind of thing. The exchange of information that went back and forth and the revelations that came out of all that. That's probably an important part. If I had to focus on one part, that's the Metropolitans, the chapter called the Metropolitans. That's probably one of the big chapters. But, like you said, Terry, I mean, for me it's always fun when people are doing it because I know it's an autobiography, and it starts young and it goes, you grow up in high school and blah, 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 and you get jobs and do this and that, get married, and things develop as you go. And that's the thing people have to understand is this stuff doesn't happen overnight. This whole revelation process was over 20-something, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
So, so it's like you'll get a little bit today, and then you'll dwell on that, and then, something will come up and will reaffirm that, so many years later, and, it builds and builds and builds. That's how that stuff works.
Was it cathartic for you to write it?
Yeah, well, very much so. I, tell everybody to do that because that process is very much so. It's a release of information. It's a clearing of the cache, if you will. And it's also a good epitaph, obviously, if something happens. It's evidence. That's my idea. I want to get it down on paper before something happened, you know what I mean? So it wasn't lost.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for writing it. I when I read it, I kept thinking, this needs to be a screenplay.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there. Well, I did have one guy write a screenplay, and he used certain aspects in his little spy drama, whatever the heck he was writing. But yeah, I really thought there is a lot of interesting, especially the way if you can turn it into something positive at the end, which is important. That's what. But again, the thing is about this book, and this is, I don't know if you know how ballsy it is, but there's a lot of ballsy stuff going on here. And
Yeah.
to the very fact that I don't just talk about the Getty having a secret base underneath it when they're doing human sacrifice and stuff like that and billion-dollar I talk about other people, Dianne Feinstein. I drop a lot of names, of various, there's just a few people, whoever I've come into contact with, political figures and things like that who are dirty, who I've had, it's just like dealing with the whole Philippines business. When I was dealing with that was kind of a, for that experience, basically showed me just how corrupt the United States was with its way they handled the money being spent for military and everything else. But that lesson is a reoccurring lesson. There's a lot of lessons there, and again, sharing it with the people, they get to see what I went through, and then hopefully it'll save them some trouble. They can, they'll go, wow, and they'll start doing the same thing and re-examine what they think they know.
Well, it definitely, once you read it, you're not naive to things, and it kind of, I like the fact that you shared about the people that came into your life, the man that dated your mother. Mm-hmm. The deception, how far they go to be around you or to sniff you out, or the parent knowledge
that was the part that was put in the screenplay. That story right there.
Okay.
Yeah, just for your information. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, and again, it makes you aware of, especially when you start to get involved with certain things, or maybe, you start talking about certain things, or, you start to associate yourself with people that maybe are connected or have information. I think it's important to, look around and see who is in your life and why, and who's connected to so-and-so. I mean, not to, be paranoid, but to realize that that something much deeper is going on, and not to be somebody who is naive as to what lengths they will go, and what kind of technology they have. For instance, I guess the part about your cousin who came over to visit, went into the garage, and then kind of saw two men and kind of went into a trance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Men in Black visitors. Yeah, the reason why they did that, I believe, was because he had made no prior contact to us. He came out of nowhere. We weren't expecting him. We hadn't seen him for years, and he just showed up at my house in a semi-truck and let himself into the garage. And I think my protectors and my watchers kind of freaked out, and there was stuff going on in the garage that was sensitive. I had my silver plating operation where I was building the jewelry for Neiman Marcus, but at the same time I was fiddling with technology that was cutting edge UFO type technology, and these guys were kind of freaking out. So when my cousin showed up and went into that area, they immediately had to assess the situation. And anyway, the true words, I'll tell you right now, Joyce, this is the true words that they said. I don't even say this in the book, or I'll give you this as a little tidbit just for you, okay?
Okay.
The true words that they said, the Men in Black guy said, that this guy repeated back to me, he said, it's just another damn pot smoker. Or pothead or something like that, just another damn pothead. That's what they said. They looked in there, they saw this guy in there. He might have been, who knows? He might have been in the garage smoking a joint. I think he was in there. I thought that, as I understood, he went in there and got a beer out of my refrigerator and sat down, or was sitting there drinking a beer. That's what I thought. He could have been smoking a joint. I don't know. But that's the thing, is they said, it's just another damn pot smoker. Now, I don't really say that in the book because this is the thing. It's like, people always dismiss the whole pot thing. I think people are intelligent enough nowadays to really know that that's nonsense, and obviously it's the greatest thing in the world from a health standpoint. But that being said, that community, those people, they have this elitist attitude, and it's a little bit old-fashioned, if you will, because they sell the stuff, they released it, they were very much involved in the drug trade. The CIA obviously is the biggest drug dealer in the world. And yet at the same time, to them, it's a tool to be used to hurt the lower class people. So they kind of turn their nose up at, they sniff, they look down on normal people that do that.
Huh.
Wild, huh?
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying it here on the show, because that kind of makes it's sticking out in my mind.
Yeah. Well, you read the book, so you know what I'm talking about. You can picture my cousin sitting there. I mean, my cousin's a big, tall guy, big white boy, and out of the Army, truck driver. I mean, fair skin, the whole 9 yards, whatever. But he's sitting in this little sofa chair, love chair, if you will, in my garage, which is in close proximity to my 15-gallon tanks of silver cyanide solution, while I was running my plating operation.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. Chill.
Legalize it, yeah.
Relax. And burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special. 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com. Or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
And kicking back, that's my little kickback spot. I had a chicken. I'd go in there and kick back with a chicken. But I don't know. I guess it was a pirate operation. I mean, that tank in there was a money machine. It had, every 6 hours it put out $358 or something like that. You know, every 6 hours roughly, and 24 hours a day. That's and all I did was fed it silver, and it spit out this money, the jewelry. You know, so many parts. Every 6 hours I made like I think it was like 52 units of these jewelry components, and each one was $5 or so. You multiply that, you know, by every, you know. I mean, I didn't mind getting out of bed every 6 hours to pull the rack out and stick another one in and go back to bed, and you know, $350. Oh well, I gotta get up and go pull this money out of the tank and put some more money in. You know, it was cool.
So have things cooled off for you? I mean, do you have the odd people sniffing you out still, or do you have? Do you?
Oh yeah, that's true. I don't really have that anymore, but it is. It's different. Okay, I mean now. Okay, you know, Carrie Cassidy made a comment to me a while back. I'll throw some names around, and she told me from her exposure to, you know, she went to Bilderberger meeting over there in London, and apparently Bilderbergers were talking about me. And that's why she came back to me and told me that. But they basically said that they were more concerned when I was actually building stuff than they are when I'm on the radio talking. They're less threatened by me out here talking and spilling my guts and saying all this stuff than they are, but when I'm actually sitting there in the lab creating stuff to screw with them, you know, or inventing technology like free energy and stuff like that. That's what I should be doing. I'll tell you, Terry, if I was going to do like a GoFundMe.com or something like that, I would invest it in some radionics technology, and I would develop that, and I would come up with some pretty crazy stuff. And that right there, you want to scare the powers that be, you know, give that to me. I see. That's the thing is they've never allowed me to have more than so much money at any given time, and that's the reason, because they know that I would take that money and I would use it to make something significant, you know, on the shoestring, so to speak. And they've always done that. They've always kept me from having more than so many $1,000s at any given time. Because if I get a really big contract, something will always happen to screw it up. You know, I won't get paid, or the money will come in just enough.
What is it that you want right now? Is there something that's driving you that you feel that you want to accomplish during?
Well, just this, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, no, just this. I want everybody. Our ultimate goal, and I think this is the goal of many people in this movement, is to wake everybody up. Right.
Right.
And that's number one. Spread the truth. And again, I suppose back to number one rule in the universe is service to others. So I guess ultimately that's what the message has to be. I have to say that the most noble thing I can do in this world is try to convince people to adopt a lifestyle of service to others.
I love that. I love it. I love it, Steve. You know what, Lori? Would you like to add something?
I'm so glad to have heard this conversation today. It just rearranges one's priorities in the sense of awareness and makes sense of all the. Because I see it, I'm always reposting annoying things on Facebook, but things I think people should be aware of. And I think that and I'm just learning more about it, but the things that you touched on are definitely signals for people to realize that in order to awaken, you must be able to open your mind to another possibility of things going on, and in that, they'll recognize the things that must be known.
Stephen, let's one more time. Where can people find your book?
Amazon Kindle. Google Amazon Kindle. Cities under the plane, you know. But I should also mention here real quick, Terry, that if you just Google my name, Stephen D. Kelly, you're also going to get all the shows from Revolution Radio that I've done. They're all on YouTube. They'll all pop up. Also, all my lectures that I've ever done at the various events, you know, if you really want to see what's up, go look at my 2012 Alchemy event video. It's got something like, I don't know, 16,000 views on it or something like that. A reasonable number of views, but it's the one where I really come out. That's where my big public thing where I come out and basically go public with what's going on. That was my first big public presentation before the radio and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've watched it. I've watched that video too. It's a good one to watch. And then it comes in I think there's 2 parts to it. There's the first part and the second part.
Right. Gotta watch both parts.
Yeah. Well,
Definitely.
you want to watch both parts.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. There's a lot of stuff out there, and hopefully that'll lead. But again, if you do go to Amazon, and the paperback version will be coming out eventually here. It's just a matter of my publishers in Costa Rica right now, and he's having a good time, and it's up to him. When he's ready, we'll get it done. So it won't be long, though.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, again, I did read it in 2 days, so
it's an easy read, huh?
It's a very easy read, once you get through, you go through your background and you growing up, and then just to watch how it all comes about. One thing I thought was interesting was how your brother had the entertainment aspect and all the laser lights that happen at discos and stuff. I actually had an odd moment. Actually, it's in my comedy video that I have on YouTube where I'm talking about Wall Street. And I'm finally at this part of my show where this is what I really want to talk about. And all of a sudden, something happens with the lights, and these laser points start pointing all over me, these red lights. And I'm like, great, I talk about Wall Street, and somebody's trying to hit me, and I'm going to get killed. And I went through this whole, improv piece. And then, when I read your book, I go, God, who's the people that actually created that? That the lasers, for me, kind of clicked in with it. To what you guys did. It was just kind of a weird little synchronicity for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of pioneers in all that laser disco business stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's all about selling alcohol, Terry. That's what it's all about.
Oh, so tell me about it.
Seriously, all those lights and all that music and the speakers and the DJs and the dance floors, that was for nothing but selling alcohol. That's all they're trying to do is figure out new ways to sell alcohol. That's our job was to help them do that. And we did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even just when you're even the entertainer there, you're basically there to make sure that people have fried foods and they're drinking alcohol while you're there, and then you have these restrictions by club owners saying, we don't want you to talk about this or say this, and you're like, what gives you the moral ground to tell me that? I mean, that's my issue with how all that comes down. But beyond all of that, we can transcend it. Is how I'm looking at it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what else? Oh, I should plug the show real quick. I just had a really big show. Of course, Thursday is my big show. Like last night, you did my show. It's at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time, my time. And I do 2 roundtables. Got to mention that. Right?
Yes.
And those would be Wednesday morning at 2 and 2 a.m. and Thursday morning at 2 a.m. Of course, that's 11 p.m. my time, Tuesday and Wednesday. But hey, got to go by the East Coast time.
Right. I did a few roundtables with you too, which I really enjoyed. So thanks for having me on that.
No, well, yeah, you can hold me up. It's fun Sunday you by yourself. Oh, we're having a roundtable. Please, somebody join me.
Yeah, they're definitely fun to listen to and also to participate. And you've definitely brought a lot of interesting people to the show here. I do listen to some of the hosts on Revolution Radio, because I'm still very much in the wanting to get more and more information phase. I spend a lot of time on YouTube watching different videos and researching things now, just so that when you start to join this media, I like to be as informed as I possibly can and be able to converse and bring different topics on the table. So definitely have enjoyed your contribution to everything.
Well, thank you for supporting me and helping me do that, Terry. When I have nobody else, so Terry, I want to guest, help me out. I need a co-host.
Yeah, and I'm always happy to do it. So anytime you want me to come on and co-host with you, just Skype me.
Thank you very much. Yes, I definitely. It's helpful during the. I mean, if you're up that late.
I am always up late. That's my thing. I'm up late.
All right. Well, you're a professional and you're smart. You know your radio, so that's what's important. Radio etiquette is important. Diplomacy is important. There's a lot of things involved, obviously, in what we do that beyond just not sounding silly, but trying not to sound silly.
Right. Yeah. Well, I try not to.
Yeah, right. Unless you're trying to be silly, unless you're trying to be silly.
Right. But there's some people. Oh yeah, she's a comedian. She's
you go with it.
Yeah, I don't have to be perfect.
No,
Lord Buckley said that humor is the absence of terror.
It is. I have to remember to stay that way though, because sometimes I get I have to sit back and go, okay, what's funny about this? Because looking at different things and experiencing them, you can become quite horrified and go in the opposite direction. But I'm bringing it back, getting there.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good balance to all the negativity we're having to deal with, right?
Right.
That's right.
Well, we need it. All players are called to action. And so, I like humor. I like to keep things on, a lighter side.